Hello and welcome to Northern Nightmares, your home for nightmarish stories in Canada and beyond. And I'm your host Andrew. I hope the holidays were wonderful for everyone, and Happy New Year's. I know for myself it was a nice break. I received a good haul from Santa and stayed on Krampus's good side for another year. Hopefully you had a similar Christmas. Over the break I worked on a few scripts, and I have 10 new episodes planned for you. Some of them I think you'll really love. I've also been working on the future of this show once season 1 is done. I have some big ideas I plan on introducing, but you'll have to wait later this year to see them. My focus will be pushing out more stories, so don't worry, I have lots of content for years to come. I'm not going anywhere. So I figured we kick off episode 11 with 2 haunting stories, a double feature episode. These stories don't involve a house or a hotel, but take place on the sea and a railroad. Let's start our first tale by heading to Bathurst in New Brunswick. Here, you would find a massive waterway that connects the Great Lakes of Canada to the Atlantic Ocean. This waterway is called the St. Lawrence River, and residents living along the coast have claimed to see something they can't explain. Usually, before a storm, one could see an apparition on the water. Some call it ghost lights. Some say it's an arc of light from the sky. But the most say they see a 3-mast galley ship with massive flames burning on its deck. This is called the Fireship of Baie de Chaleurs. Ghost ships have been popular folklore since early as the 17th century. The superstition from sailors over the centuries is seeing a phantom ship usually meant doom for anyone, usually signifying the misfortunes of the sea and how merciless the ocean can be for seafarers. One famous phantom ship is the Flying Dutchman. Sailors fear this ship as the Captain Davy Jones has been known to sink ships and drag his crew to their watery grave and end up in Davy Jones' locker, which is just another version of hell. The Fireship of Baie de Chaleurs has similar lore to the Dutchman. It's said that witnessing this ship brings independent doom to the viewer. It's regarded as a bad omen, and witnesses are said to be cursed with bad luck for the rest of their life if you looked at it for too long. The origin of this ship is murky, as is not exactly known, but there is a couple theories of where it came from. Around the end of the 14th century and beginning of the 15th century, the Spanish were on the hunt to find the Northwest Passage to China and India. 3 ships left Portugal, led by a man named Captain Gaspar Cortereal. After weeks of searching, they ended up in an area that had dense fog, howling winds, and frigid waters. Eventually, they found land. With dwindling supplies, they managed to get fresh water and fish for the journey. However, they realized they didn't make it to Asia, but somewhere else. It's thought that this could have been Newfoundland, as it was called, a country of large rivers. Somewhere along their travels, they ended up in the St. Lawrence River and found natives living among the land. Well, the Spanish realized now that this definitely wasn't Asia, but instead of trading with the people, they enslaved them and eventually sold them when they returned to Europe. On their next journey, they returned to capture more of the natives. However, they were waiting for them. When Gaspar arrived, war canoes sailed out and a fierce battle broke out. The Spanish ships were eventually destroyed and Gaspar's main vessel burned from a massive fire. This was around 1501 when Gaspar and his crew were never heard from again. This is thought to be the ghost of that ship being punished for their wicked deeds in which they inflicted on the native people. Another theory of the origins is that it's a natural phenomenon. Some of you may have heard of this. It's called St. Elmo's Fire. This is a stunning electrical phenomenon seen in the sky during a thunderstorm. It's when a strong electric field ionizes air molecules into plasma energy. One could usually hear a loud hissing sound signaling a sign of an incoming lightning strike. In the case of a ship, the mast would become a conductor in a thunderstorm. The plasma energy would be attached to the mast. Adding in water splashing onto the deck, this makes the ship an easy target for lightning. This phenomenon can also affect airplanes in modern day. For them, it's because their metal bodies make excellent conductors. St. Elmo's fire is named after the real Saint Hermanus of Formia. He was alive around the 3rd century and was known as the patron saint of sailors. The name St. Elmo is just a shortened nickname. St. Elmo's fire theory was applied to the story by a Harvard researcher, William F. Gonen, in 1901. He heard of the famous ghost ship and had to come see it for himself. Being a skeptic, William thought this was just a silly tale, but having talked to locals and even some noteworthy politicians of the time, he was surprised of how many people have seen this ship. Williams does state as well that Gaspar, the Spanish captain, was indeed a real figure. He and his crew were indeed in Canada. However, he has said that there's no evidence that he made it to New Brunswick. After digging deep into the lore, Williams has determined there is something in the St. Lawrence River that does look like something ominous, and manifesting in what everyone says is a burning ship. When his theory on St. Elmo's fire being the possibility, he received hundreds of letters around the world. Most of them claim that this case of St. Elmo's fire has never been seen before, and only New Brunswick is the only spot ever heard of having a ship manifesting. So, could all this just be a natural event in the area? Or did a ship sometime in the past get struck by lightning, causing it to go up in flames, and the ship was cursed to haunt these waters forever? I guess you'll have to visit for yourself and decide what you believe, but I would suggest bring some good luck charms, just in case you do spot it. Our next story takes us all the ways out to the little village of St. Louis in Saskatchewan, where a legend of a so-called ghost train resides. The legend says that one can witness a set of lights moving along an area where train tracks used to be, and that is near the highway number 2. It looks like a bright, sometimes reddish light, and is said to resemble an old train light or lantern. The story claims sometime during the 1920s, a train conductor working for the Canadian National Railway was out inspecting the tracks one night. However, something tragic had happened. The conductor was decapitated by the train. The cause of this is unknown, but his spirit is said to wander along the tracks with a lantern, looking for his missing head. Another version says that the conductor is operating the train, moving along the tracks, looking for his head. For the record as well, the train tracks were decommissioned sometime in the 80s, but locals still say they see the supposed train lights still wandering the old tracks. It's been theorized as well that it isn't a spirit but a natural phenomenon. In the early 2000s, a couple of local high school students presented an experiment disproving the ghost. In their research, they were able to replicate the phenomena using lights from cars driving down Highway 2 near the old tracks. This is called a diffraction of light, shining through small openings like trees along the old train bed. Light would diffuse and expand. This would make the headlights look like a single beam of light to seem closer than it actually is. Now, the students were able to reproduce this effect with a car flashing its headlights and taillights as it passed the area, proving that this is the cause. However, there's been a counter-argument to disprove this as well. because the legend says the ghost lights have been appearing since 1800s, long before automobiles were even invented. But it's been difficult to back up this claim, as there's been no evidence dating that far back. The earliest goes back to the 1920s, to the conductor's story. The famous ghost lights continue to mystify people even today. The story is so famous that it even had its own episode on the show Unsolved Mysteries. If you remember back in episode 2 about the Fairmount Hotel, I talked about the Grey Lady. Well, I mentioned Canada Post had made her story into a collectible stamp. Well, the ghost train story was also made into a stamp. It was featured with other ghost stories, one being the Grey Lady. Maybe in the future, I'll discuss the rest of the stories. Whatever the cause is to the ghost lights, you can't deny it's definitely creepy. So if you ever visit St. Louis, make sure you try to see the famous ghost train. Just make sure you stay off to the side, or you may end up like the old conductor. So that's the Devil's feature story of the ghost ship and ghost train. I hope you enjoyed these two spooky tales. I apologize that this episode is a little on the short side. The holidays were crazy, and life has been a little hard on my head. But be patient with me, the next few episodes will be much longer. If you have any other stories you want me to cover, feel free to send them to northernnightmares@outlook.ca. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube to get notified right away when the new episodes drop, and follow me on wherever you listen to your podcasts. Next week, I have a very different story coming, a new genre I'm excited to introduce to you. This episode is going to have many Timbit-sized stories all around the same theme, and I can promise you this, it's definitely a bloody episode. Humans are the victims. However, the killers in these tales aren't human. So, I'll see you soon. Sweet dreams, and remember, nightmares are closer than you think.